listening to Perfectly Imperfect Embracing Real Motherhood, where our mission is to show you how all the amazing things you're doing every day do make you perfect.
If you're a mom who is tired of judging herself and wants to hear the journeys of other moms ditching unrealistic expectations, you're in the right place. Get ready to feel confident and hopeful again, because you've got this.
So, I guess for those who don't know me, because Jenny, you know this story all too well. With my child, what we kind of decided as a family was we weren't going to do screen time until she was about 2, because that's the recommendation. And we did a good job of that. She didn't have planted in front of the screen time until she was 2, or like a tablet or anything like that. But if I'm being really honest, we always have TV on in our house as a background. So especially when she was an infant, we were up all hours of the night, and all day, because that's how infants are. And one of the ways that would keep me awake so I didn't fall asleep holding my kid was we put something on the TV that was familiar enough that we didn't have to pay attention, but engaging enough to keep me awake. And that really worked for me. It kept my sanity as a new mom to have something familiar and engaging on. So I felt like I was doing a good job with that. And then it kind of just bled over into my husband plays video games, so he has a screen on during the day. And she just kind of grew up with screens on and around. And that's kind of been our story, is I grew up with screens, not all the time, and obviously not as much stuff accessible, right? Because we're talking about the 90s, but I grew up with TV on. It was part of my life. It was been one of our things as a family. My husband and I would go see movies all the time. It's just part of our culture as a family is to have that on. And now, as we become parents and we have to start thinking about these things, it really didn't take a toll on me until people were like, no, screens are bad. I'm like, what? I don't remember people saying this when I was growing up.
Or at least we didn't have our own personal Instagram feed when we were little kids saying, you should think this, you should feel bad about this. I'm the internet. I knew everything.
Right. And I know, it was a thing to go over people's houses and watch TV all night. And, we had sleepovers. That's what we did. It was yeah, we played games, but it was and then we watched movies all night. I don't know. For me, it just has been part of growing up and being a person, and not everyone enjoys TV or all that. So no judgment there, but for us, it's just been part of what my family does. And so when she hit that 2-year-old stage and we decided to make that decision, okay, let's start using it, it felt good and natural, and as a way for me as a mom to kind of balance out that losing my identity piece with being able to incorporate my kid into some things that made sense to me as a person.
Nice. I am so glad that your story about your decision for your kid honestly really incorporates your well-being. You even said the word sanity.
Yep. Well, and it's because it's true, right? At the time, I didn't realize I wasn't making this conscious decision as a new mom to be I must have this in order to have my sanity. But I can clearly see that now as a reason, I need this thing on because this is something for me that allows me to have a break, feel like I'm not sitting up alone in the world in the middle of the night, whatever it might be. It was a way to accomplish those things and not go insane, literally.
Yeah, and that's really important. Finding the ways to not go insane as a parent is probably the best thing we can do for our kids, for their emotional well-being, maybe even their physical well-being, if we're being totally honest. Like, that's such a key piece of it. And I always love our talks because I love how we have that me too, totally different details, but me too, same exact experience. Because for me and my family, the decisions we've made about screen time very much center around what's helping mine and my family's emotional well being. So you and I have talked before about how we do have some really different decisions in our household because that we've both thought about. For me, I feel more sane, honestly, when the TV's off. Growing up, I was just really distracted by TV. I think because I'm such a visual person. Yeah, I've always been an artist. I've always like loved walking around looking at nature. So if there's anything going on in my house, that's where my attention goes. Like I just don't really feel like I have the ability to multitask with a movie or with a TV show. It's just a nope, one thing or the other for me. So if I were to have TV shows on for my kid, or even if other people are in my household, it would have been really difficult for me to do a lot of things. So that was a piece of it. The other parts were it also is what felt right for me and for other supporting other values in our family. I wanted us to be out of the house more often than in the house, and we're lucky that we're in an area where we can do that pretty easily, and we've got the clothing to be comfortable on the days it's not. I really it really supported a lot of our other values. So anyways, what we've done, I think we didn't do any screens until Rhodes was 4. Except for like every now and then we'd watch truck tunes, these like really cool little like 3-minute videos of various work trucks or cars that had a really silly but fun, catchy song to it. And part of the reason those were our videos was because Patrick and I liked the songs. They didn't drive us crazy. Had they been
Right.
annoying songs, those would not have been on the table. I'm just going to put that out there.
So important.
Yeah. But yeah, so like we didn't really do any much until 4, and even so it's really not a part of our daily lives, but it's really fun to make it a really fun treat. Like you talked about when we were growing up, sleepovers and watching movies and all this fun stuff. Like that's exactly what we get to do because now we get to say like, "Hey, you know what? It's a Friday night. Let's as a family, let's make popcorn and let's put on a fun movie." And we snuggle up and it feels really intentional and part of what we've done. So it's really, really worked for us. And I'm really glad that I'm listening to me about it instead of that little internet voice I was making fun of earlier. It's like, I have this opinion, but wait, I have this other opinion. It's like Instagram is like the devil and the angel on your shoulder simultaneously because within 2.5 minutes you could get 5 different reels or maybe 10, I don't know, I'm not doing the math well, of like differing opinions of, hey, this is what you've done right or wrong in your life. Sorry,
And that
apparently I'm on a
voice
soapbox
is
against Instagram right now.
well, but it's there, and I wouldn't even call it a little tiny voice, right? Like this is something where you pick up your phone and it is glaringly there. And then even when you put your phone away in your head, like all of a sudden it's like these ideas just kind of stick around and swirl in your brain until you start going mad with like, am I doing the wrong thing? I don't know. It feels good, but it feels bad now because all these other people are saying that I shouldn't be doing it. And then
hmm
like it's just this like death spiral almost of like, well, I shouldn't be listening to them. But how do I not listen to them? Because that's what I see all the time. Like it's just it's so much and it causes so much stress. And that's just one piece of it. Because then you have family members and then you have friends and then you like teachers and schools and like everybody has an opinion on what you should be doing with your kids specifically
hmm
and very heightenedly about screens all on its own.
hmm Okay, so before we go even farther on that, because it would be easy to, as you pointed out, like it's so there. I think something that you and I really wanted to make sure we said to every parent listening here is this core belief that you and I have, Felicia, which is parents are the experts on what is best for them and their family. Now, there are plenty of people with wonderful professional opinions. There are doctors who have a great wealth of medical knowledge. There are psychiatrists who have a great wealth of psychiatry knowledge. I could probably say that in a different way. Sorry, psychiatrists. But there is no professional that is designated with like Jenny's family expert. Like there's no one else out there that is going to know you and your family better and what feels good and right and true for your family than you and your family. Parents everywhere have too much on our plates. Plates stacked with unrealistic expectations that wear down our energy, eat up our time, and have us constantly putting ourselves on the back burner. So, how do we get those things back? Our one page, one audio file, completely free tool will get you back your time, your energy, and even help you find support along the way. That's because it's not a giant ebook or a long video series to watch or something else you have to fit into your everyday schedule. It's just a tool you can use in the moment when you need it. It's fast, simple, and works every time we're stressed out. And again, completely free. We call it 3 Simple Steps. Check the show notes now to download it. And it's really easy to not honor that title we have. We're so used to looking for the answers outside of ourselves because of so many reasons. Because we're often told, like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" I'm going to give you like a list of 10 reasons why you should doubt yourself right now. But honestly, going outward to find those answers isn't ever going to be as satisfying as going within and saying, does this feel right? Because the reality is we're having this conversation specifically about screens, and we're having this conversation because it's usually an extreme conversation. It's either all the way on this side or it's all the way on that side. And what you and I believe, Felicia, is that all tools have their time and place. So as parents, let's be intentional, sorry, about what the right time and place is for us and our family, because it's not going to be the same for each of us. I would very easily argue that you and I have found the right time and place for using these tools for ourselves and our families, even though they look very different in our households. Because you and
Oh,
I,
yeah.
yeah, right? We're being intentional. We're reflecting, asking what's true for us. And that's what guides us to good parenting decisions. Every time, if you're
Yep.
intentional and think about it, you will always get led to a good parenting decision, even if
And you,
you change your mind later.
well, and even if it's not specifically intentional every single moment, I feel like if we go into it with like, here is my overall intention with this tool, right? And we're talking about using screens here as a tool in our lives.
Hmm.
So, yes, while I might not be very mindful of it every second of every day, because hey, I'm a parent and I got other shit to do and I don't always want to be like, super on it,
Hmm.
which I shouldn't have to be every single moment. That's fine. Then just knowing though that I have this overall intention of how I plan on using it, whether it's for me, my kid earns her TV time with chores every day because she's 7, and that's a way to kind of have a good barter system and earn things.
Hmm.
Or whether, it's you using it as a, hey, mom's sick. Here's some TV, or, I need to get something done. I don't do this every day, but today is a really important thing for me. So here you go, kid. Either
Hmm.
way, we're using it for what we need to get done. And half the time we're doing those things together when it's really important. And we're just like, oh yeah, you did that. I did that too. Cool. Like there's no like, oh, well, I feel bad now because Jenny uses screens less than me, and Jenny
Hmm.
must feel so superior. Like, no. And I don't feel superior for like letting my kid use it all the time. Like it's just it is what it is and it works. And my kid and I are happy and healthy. So right
Hmm.
on.
Yeah. And thank you for pointing out too, as I use that word intentional a lot, that it doesn't mean hyper intentional. It doesn't mean hyper focused. I'm on 24/7. I'm really glad you point out that distinction. Thank you. Because that's another thing we feel. Parents shouldn't have to parent 24/7. Parenthood is a job, people. It deserves mandated breaks and sick time and vacation time. And I personally have a lot of opinions about how we can find better ways as a culture to get that to every parent. It's hard. It's probably annoying to a couple of you to say, "Sure, Jenny, I know I need a break. I know I need a vacation, but how the frickin' heck am I going to get that?" So I think we have
Yep.
to get really creative sometimes because there are not always easy solutions to that. But I do think we can find ways to make sure parents are getting some break time, getting sick. Sorry, not getting sick. That's happening regardless. Getting sick time. You might even notice my throat doesn't even sound so great because I just came off of a week where my whole family had stomach flu. And while I may be the parent on the neighborhood who has the least amount of screen time, because you better believe all the kids have picked up on that in the neighborhood. They know that we do less screens in our house. But you better believe I was using Dr. Disney all this week because I could not get up and do anything else. That was a terrible stomach flu, Felicia. And boy, was I grateful to have that tool. And I felt like I was able to do so in a way that lined up. And I'm not like down on myself for having used it. I feel like I made a very wise, intentional choice and used the tools to support my family's well-being.
And we need those tools because there are those circumstances that are out of our control, and we just cannot do anything about it. And we have our plan and it goes twisty and we can't do it, and then we have plan B and plan C and all these things. But
Mhm.
that doesn't mean that like anything you're doing is wrong or bad. You're literally adjusting to what's being handed to you.
Yeah.
Had we all got a good course in that. If we had anything going on in our lives in 2020, whether you were a parent
Mm.
then or not, we all know we had to kind of change how everything worked for us. And being a parent at that time, it was like, guess what? This is what you get because I don't get a break from you. So this is how we work it in. And that's okay because, like you said, we don't have to be on 24/7, especially as our kids get a little bit older and can handle, being on their own for a little bit, whether it's half an hour or longer. But
Hmm.
as part of being a parent is we deserve those breaks and we deserve to not be racked with guilt because we have them.
Yeah, because sometimes it is a planned break. Sometimes it's like, okay, I know Tuesday afternoons, I'm trying to record a podcast with Felicia. So you know what? That's going to be our special Mickey Mouse Clubhouse time. But you brought up the point, like there are a lot of unplanned things. There was a global pandemic that threw all of our plan A's out the window, and most of us had to go to plan B or even C or even D. And we cannot let those circumstances that were out of our control weigh us down with guilt. And I'm sure screen time is just one of those things where like many of us were not necessarily able to do our first choice. And that's okay. Like we don't have to feel like bad parents because there was a global pandemic. So if you have been holding on to any pandemic guilt, please take a couple of deep breaths right now. Give yourself a hug. You are not a bad parent if you had to pivot from plan A to plan B or plan C. And the reason we're phrasing it as those different plans is because if you had to change what you wanted to do ideally, you probably weren't just going willy-nilly like, oh, well, now I'll do anything else. Like you probably thought really good, long, and hard about what the next best alternative is. So I just want to point that out to like, so you can give yourself some credit. Like even if it wasn't your first choice, you probably did think intentionally about what the next best alternative is or what the third best alternative is. And so if you are being, again, intentional and, thinking about what you can do, please give yourself a parent pat on the back. Um, because
I
there are
like
a
that.
lot of things out of our control in parenthood. Oh, you know
Mhm.
what? I can tell you a story about a really great time. I was super grateful for screen time. It was, Felicia, do you remember when Rhodes was 3? He had like literally just started preschool and his school had a lockdown.
Oh, yep.
I was a
Yeah.
mess. He was safe. Everything was fine. It was with a huge dose of precaution. Is that the phrase? Like an overwhelming sense of precaution as us doing this. But it was scary. Being there with my baby in school for the first time since he was an infant, because we took a couple years off from the pandemic. And I didn't have control in that situation. And I handled it really well during then. I'm grateful he was with the teachers he was with who handled it well. But, holding things together for a few hours is exhausting. So he and I got home later that day. I phoned in a grandparent from 2 states away and said, "Hey, do you mind hopping on Zoom for a little bit and reading some books to Rhodes? Because that's been one way I've loved having a screen as a tool. Is it's been a way for my mother especially to bond with Rhodes. She's read him books. She'll watch him as he's like driving his little Hot Wheels. It's been a really great way for them to actually bond 2 states away. But that was one of those days where I said, I need the screen to come be a mediary so I can go cry in the bedroom about how scary that felt, just thinking about my baby being in an unsafe situation. So again, those tools have a lot of power because really, Felicia, like none of us would say that, these tools are evil tools. Like when you have the conversation about screen time and you hear about the extremes we think about, none of us are going to say that having the ability to see a loved one from across the country, a few states away on a video calls is a bad thing. Like none of us is going to argue that having the ability to broadcast this beautiful concert from another country and bring music into people's living rooms is a bad thing. Like the things that screens can do for us are pretty freaking awesome. And forgive me if I sound a little bit like the NRA, not my favorite organization, but it's not, it's not the screen that's doing a bad thing. It's the choices we make with our screens that can either feel in line with what we want or what we don't.
I
Sorry, is that
mean,
too extreme to use like that
no,
thing? Guns don't kill people, people kill people.
I will accept that because I'm honestly, it's true, right? It's like if I just have a screen here,
Hmm.
nothing bad is happening.
Right?
I have a screen in my bedroom. We don't use it like hardly ever. It's just another TV we have in the house. And like nothing bad is happening because it's in my room. If I was addicted to TV, then yes, that would be a bad thing, but that's about me and how I
Hmm.
utilize it. So even though you went on a crazy soapbox about that one, I will agree and I will draw that line as well and say, yes, you know what? It is.
Thank you for accepting my crazy soapbox. I feel a little extra crazy on the soapbox today. So I'm glad I get to talk to you.
At the flip of a coin. It's like, how am I going to utilize
Oh,
this instead
I'm,
of,
I'm going to pause you, Felicia. You froze for
oh,
like
okay.
30 seconds there. So if you want to just try and pick up or restart,
Am I,
then we'll
am
edit
I
this
back?
out. Okay, I
Yeah.
think you're
Am
clear
I
now.
back?
Yeah.
Fuck. Where did I freeze?
Um, I said thank you for letting me be on my crazy soapbox, and then it was silent.
Oh,
I know, sorry.
that
I ruined your train of
sucks.
thought.
No, that was like, like my whole thought. It's fine. Um, okay. Let's see. Do I want to hop back on it or
You
just say yeah?
We've been going a while. We could just kind of jump down to um, that, start
Five.
summarizing that it doesn't have to be such big, heavy weighing choices,
So six?
like 5 and 6.
Six. Okay. Okay. All right. I'm gonna pretend you just said thank you for letting me show, get on my soapbox.
I'll say it again. Okay, ready? Here we go.
That's
So, thank you for letting me have an extra dose of crazy in my soapboxes today. This is why I'm glad we're talking.
no problem because would probably agree with that sentiment. Utilizing them is kind of where we're at. It's in those choices. It's not in the fact that it's there because we're surrounded by them. So,
Hmm.
you know, it brings me back to that whole social media. I don't know. I kind of like get that ick feeling with this whole you're gonna ruin your child if you give them this, or you're gonna ruin your child if you don't give them this. And I think for us, what we have really figured out coming down to it is it really doesn't matter what you choose. It's it's what you do behind that. So like in every small moment you have, screens yes or screens no, it's not going to ruin your kid. It's our overall parenting style that's going to shape our kid. So
Mm.
when we parent in a way that does not feel good to us, that's more detrimental than giving your kid a screen or not. When we deny
Yes.
ourselves those opportunities you're talking about of like having Friday night movie night, making those memories with your kids, that is where we truly like baseline feel we are not being good parents. So, having those fun inconsistencies like, yeah, today we're gonna have like movie day because it's raining outside and I don't want to force you to go outside if you don't want to, and I just want to stay cozy today.
Hmm.
That doesn't mean every rainy day we're gonna do that, but it's okay to give those things to your kids if that's what you feel like doing. They don't have to think that every fun thing you do is something that's the norm now,
Hmm.
because that's not life, right?
Yeah, it's not like we're constantly setting precedents, which I'll admit, like there's a little voice in my head that is constantly worried if I make one choice that this is super high stakes and therefore like that's what's always going to happen. I need to tone that voice down now and say like this, not every moment needs to be a learning moment. That's actually something a mentor told me um, earlier on in my teaching career. And I remember just being like, what? But I thought everything I did was impacting and shaping this child. And it really took me back to think about it. I'm like, oh, not every moment has to be a learning moment. Meaning, like, not everything has to be so high stakes and thinking we're constantly shaping, and it's so easy to worry that it does have to be that because here we are parenting these small children that we have to take into society and they do things that embarrass us and they're tired so they might be rude or they're hungry so they might have a meltdown and like it's kind of hard to not think of like, oh, it's because I mom failed and didn't pack a snack or it's because I've been letting them get away with this and really I should be more vigilant. Like it's because it's the parent process. It's the process of becoming a human and learning regulation. And it's the process of doing that with our kids and growing together because we don't automatically know how to be the parent we want to be from the get go. It takes practice, like anything. If you're going to learn a sport or a hobby, you got to practice it. Even though you've got that potential inside you the whole time and you're working towards it, you wouldn't chastise yourself. Well, that's not true. It's easy to chastise yourself
You,
if we're not
you
good for stuff.
shouldn't
But
shouldn't
logically,
chastise yourself.
yeah, logically, we wouldn't ask ourselves to be perfect in other situations. And we usually do in parenthood. So we're here to say perfect's not an option and it's okay. We don't have to try to be perfect. We don't have to make a perfect decision or choice every single time. And that we also shouldn't be the ones making every single choice every single moment because we as parents need to have breaks. Even if you are a solo parent, we believe there are ways for you to get break and that you deserve breaks. And yes, we do know that it's hard. And part of the point of this podcast is we don't want to just tell you that you deserve self-care, that you deserve time off. We want to help you think of new ways where you can do that and feel more feel like you actually have the power to get those said breaks that we're talking about. So we're going to keep talking about that in other episodes. But for now, we just want you to know that what you decide about screen time is just fine because here you are making a decision. If you were making no decision and life was just happening to you and your family, then yeah, there'd probably be some consequences you didn't like. But here you are doing the good work of thinking what feels right to me and my family. Because as you pointed out a few minutes ago, Felicia, like we trying to parent out of sync with what makes sense to you doesn't work. I've fallen into the trap of one night being like, all right, we need to change things because so and so has been able to parent this way and they were able to do this and it worked. And I tried it one night and it failed miserably because my kid looked at me and like basically I could tell in his head, he was like, Mom, are you buying this? Because I ain't buying this. This doesn't sound like what we do. This doesn't make sense. I just don't believe you right now. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to do my normal thing. You call me mom when you're back in alignment because you're clearly not here. You're just trying to be somebody else right now. Okay, so
Oh, that's funny. Yep.
yeah. Yeah. One night I forget what it was. I totally forget what parent thing I was trying to do, but it didn't work. And I remember very clearly that I decided never again am I going to try and be a different parent. I'll try new things and I'll try things that feel good with me, but I'm not going to do something just because somebody else is. It don't work anyways.
It probably had something to do with teeth brushing. I'm just going to put that
Oh
out there
God, it
because,
probably did. You're
yep,
mm, hate. I still don't like toothbrushing, but oh my gosh, brushing a 2-year-old's teeth was just like the worst ever.
so bad. Yeah.
Thanks for listening to Perfectly Imperfect, Embracing Real Motherhood. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss our next episode.
We'll be back next week with another conversation to keep you going on your awesomely imperfect journey. Remember, you've got this.